The desert of Corinth stretched like a scar across the planet. The sky burned red and the sun beat down without mercy. Sandstorms could rise without warning, devouring anything in their path. Water was rare, more precious than metal, and every human settlement fought daily to survive. Leora Vance ran across the cracked stone bridge that connected her colony to the outer cliffs. Her boots kicked up clouds of red dust, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. She carried a small pack filled with scavenged tools, a water filter and a few rations. She was fast, smart, and unafraid, because fear would kill her faster than hunger ever could. Today Leora's task was simple: scout for supplies in the canyon below. But the moment she stepped over the edge, she felt a vibration under her feet, like the land itself was trembling. She froze. The vibration turned into a low, guttural groan that rolled up the canyon walls. It was a sound she had never heard before, a deep, ragged sound that made the hairs on her arms stand straight. Curiosity and caution pulled her forward, careful with each step across the broken stones. The canyon was wide, deep, and dangerous. Loose rocks fell without warning, and sharp cliffs threatened to send a misstep into the void. Leora's pulse raced. She had grown up here, surviving on instincts and knowledge passed down by the elders, but the sound made her feel small, almost insignificant. She hugged the canyon wall, creeping toward the source. Then she saw it. A massive shape lay sprawled across the canyon floor. Its body shimmered faintly in the fading sunlight. Scales cracked and brittle, wings half-folded, and eyes dim like dying stars. It was a dragon, but unlike anything she had read about in history or seen in Hollowitz. Its size was beyond imagination, larger than the tallest building in her colony. Its breathing was shallow, weak, and each inhale made the canyon rumble. Leora froze. For a moment she only stared. Her mind screamed danger. Dragons were considered extinct, and the few recorded sightings ended in death. Yet something about this one made her hesitate. She noticed its eyes flicker, not with anger but with desperation. Then came the voice, not spoken but a sharp, piercing thought in her mind. "Water, please, human?" Her heart skipped. She had been trained to fear the unknown, but something in her chest pushed her forward. The dragon's psychic plea was filled with pain, with centuries of suffering. Its voice carried an urgent trust, almost like it knew she could help. And yet, stepping closer meant risk. One wrong move and she could die under its claws or wings. Leora's hand tightened on the strap of her pack. Her mind raced, calculating possibilities. She had scavenged dangerous ruins alone. She had faced sandstorms that could shred a person in minutes. This was different. This was a living being, old beyond measure, asking for help. She took a cautious step forward, then another. Each movement was measured, deliberate. The dragon shifted, a sound like rocks grinding together. Its eyes locked on hers, a spark of hope flickering in the tired depths. Leora felt a strange connection, a thread of understanding stretching across species, time, and worlds. She realized this creature was dying, not from hunger, not from injury, but from thirst. Water could save it. And that water was somewhere she might reach, but it would not be easy. Sand scraped against her face as a sudden gust roared through the canyon. Leora pressed against the rock wall, feeling the weight of the wind. The dragon groaned again, more urgently this time. "Please, human, help." The words echoed in her mind and in her heart. Every instinct told her to run. Every lesson in survival whispered danger. But every ounce of courage inside her, sharpened by hardship, necessity, and stubborn hope, pushed her forward. She knelt at the edge of the canyon floor, just out of reach of the dragon's massive head. Her pack scraped against the stone, and she realized the water she carried was only a fraction of what it would need. The creature's throat made a gurgling, desperate sound, and its wings twitched like it was trying to rise but could not. Leora's pulse thudded against her chest. The canyon felt alive with tension, the wind carrying the scent of dust and fear. Then a thought struck her. There was an underground aquifer nearby, rumored to hold water so pure it could heal even the sickest humans. If she could reach it and return quickly, she might save the dragon. But the journey was dangerous. The path ran through shifting sandfields, cliffs that could collapse, and predators that hunted anything that moved. Many had tried before her. Few returned. The dragon's psychic voice pressed on her mind, weak but insistent. "Hurry." "I cannot wait." Leora's eyes narrowed. Her jaw set. She knew the risks, yet she could not abandon him. Survival was instinct, yes, but courage, true courage, was knowing when to face the impossible anyway. She straightened, adjusting her pack. Every step would matter. Every decision could mean life or death. The wind howled through the canyon, lifting dust and sand, hiding dangers she could barely see. She looked back at the dragon one last time before heading toward the path that led to the aquifer. Its eyes glimmered faintly as if it trusted her entirely. Leora inhaled sharply. This was no ordinary scavenger run. This was survival against impossible odds. And if she failed, the dragon would die and she would carry that weight forever. A loose rock tumbled under her foot. The dragon's wings shivered as if sensing movement in the canyon. Leora's heart jumped. Something was coming, something else alive in the shadows. And in that moment she knew the true danger was not just reaching the water, but surviving the journey to get there. Her courage hardened. She adjusted her pack, gritted her teeth and stepped forward. Every grain of sand, every gust of wind, every heartbeat was a test. She was a human facing the impossible. And the dragon's life rested in her hands. The path down to the aquifer was narrow, jagged, and treacherous. Every step Leora took sent clouds of red dust swirling around her ankles. Loose stones shifted underfoot, threatening to send her tumbling into the canyon below. The wind howled like a living creature, carrying whispers of danger from the sandfields ahead. She gripped her pack tightly, her fingers raw from climbing, and pressed on. Every second mattered. The dragon's psychic voice haunted her mind. "Hurry, my strength fades." The first obstacle appeared almost immediately. A shifting sandfield stretched before her, deeper than she had anticipated. The ground looked solid, but she knew the stories. The sand moved like water, swallowing anyone who underestimated it. Leora scanned the surface, spotting faint ridges where the sand hardened briefly. She tested a step, then another, finding a rhythm. Each movement was slow, calculated, but the sand still threatened to pull her down. Her heart pounded, but she did not stop. A human could survive with wit and patience, she reminded herself. Impulse would be death. Halfway across, the sand shifted violently, sending her stumbling. She fell forward, scraping her hands and knees against hidden stones. Pain shot through her fingers, but she forced herself upright. The dragon's mental plea rang sharp in her mind, urgent and desperate. "Do not stop, do not fail." The words felt like a command but also like trust, and they fueled her determination. She bit her lip, swallowed the fear, and continued, one careful step at a time. Beyond the sandfield, cliffs loomed, jagged and overhanging. The path narrowed to a ledge barely wide enough for her boots. One misstep meant certain death. She moved with the precision of a tightrope walker, balancing against the rock face, feeling the wind tug at her body. Dust and loose stones fell into the abyss below. Her muscles burned with tension, but she held steady. Every move had meaning, every step was life or death. She glanced at the horizon. The underground aquifer's entrance shimmered faintly in the distance, a promise of salvation for the dragon. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the canyon. Leora froze. From the shadows, a pack of alien predators emerged, creatures she had only seen in warning holovids. Four-legged, scaled, with glowing eyes and claws that could shred rock, they had smelled her presence and the dragon's psychic energy. Her mind raced. Running blindly would be suicide, fighting would be madness. But she refused to panic. Humans survived by thinking, not by fear. She crouched low and dug into her pack, pulling out a reflective panel she had scavenged. An idea sparked. Humans thrived on ingenuity. She angled it toward the sun, creating a sudden glare across the predator's eyes. The creatures hesitated, confused. Leora moved slowly, zigzagging the reflection, making it appear as if multiple humans advanced on them. She took a deep breath, forcing her pulse steady. The predators snarled, uncertain. Humans could bend perception with cleverness when strength alone was not enough. Step by step, she edged past them, never breaking focus, never giving the illusion a moment to fail. The sand scraped at her legs, the wind pushed at her back, but she pressed forward. Behind her, the predators lost interest and slunk into the shadows, unwilling to risk confrontation with a human who seemed to multiply before their eyes. Leora exhaled sharply, muscles tense, and didn't let herself relax. The danger was gone for now, but the canyon was alive with threats she could not yet see. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time was blurred in the desert sun. Leora's lips were cracked, her throat dry, but she finally reached the cavern entrance where the aquifer began. The air cooled suddenly, a welcome relief. Light shimmered off crystalline walls, revealing the underground lake. The water glowed faintly, pure and still. A human could live here, maybe even heal. But the dragon would not survive without her moving fast. She quickly assembled her siphon, her fingers fumbling slightly with fatigue yet precise. This was no time for error. Every calculation mattered. Every drop of water could mean life or death. As she prepared to extract water, a rumble shook the cavern. Stones fell from the ceiling. Leora spun, realizing the dragon's psychic warning was not just metaphor. The rumble was a predator, a group of alien scavengers notorious for hunting dying dragons and selling their remains across the galaxy. Their approach was silent, calculated, and merciless. Leora's mind raced. She had no weapons, only her tools and her wits. But humans survived where others failed because of courage paired with intelligence. She scanned the cavern. Bioluminescent crystals littered the walls, reflecting light. A plan formed. Using the siphon and the crystals, she could create illusions, duplicate images of the dragon to confuse the scavengers. It would be risky, precise, but she had no choice. The dragon's life depended on it, and humans never surrendered to impossible odds. She positioned the crystals and adjusted the siphon, her hands shaking from exhaustion but steady from determination. The scavengers entered. Their glowing eyes cut through the dim light. Leora held her breath. With a sudden adjustment of the crystals, the reflections multiplied the dragon's form, casting dozens of flickering images across the cavern walls. The scavengers snarled and hesitated. Leora stepped forward, using shadows and reflections to make it appear the dragon was moving, flaring its wings. Fear spread across their faces. Even alien predators could be manipulated if the human mind was clever enough. It worked. The scavengers faltered, unsure which way to strike, and slowly retreated, growls echoing down the tunnels. Leora didn't relax. Every second had mattered, every calculation had counted, and the dragon's life hung by the thread of her ingenuity. She allowed herself a quick glance at the shimmering water. It wasn't enough to celebrate yet. She had survived the sand, the cliffs, the predators, but the hardest part remained, delivering the water to a creature that could barely move, a being that had suffered centuries of thirst, and ensuring it lived. Her heart pounded. The dragon's psychic plea returned, weak but insistent. "Hurry, human." "I cannot hold." Leora's jaw set. She stepped forward toward the water, feeling the cavern's heat and her own exhaustion pressing against her. This was survival at its finest. Courage, intelligence, and determination against impossible odds. She could fail. She could die. But she would not turn back. The dragon's eyes flickered faintly, catching the light. Hope shimmered within them. And in that moment, Leora knew one thing. Humans could face the impossible, and bend it to their will. Leora knelt at the edge of the underground lake, the glimmering water reflecting her determined face. Her hands hovered over the siphon, ready to draw the precious liquid. The dragon lay a few meters away, its massive chest rising and falling in shallow, ragged breaths. Every second counted. She could feel the weight of his centuries-long suffering pressing on her shoulders, and it filled her with a strange urgency. Humans survived by thinking, acting, and refusing to surrender, and Leora had never felt that truth more keenly than now. A faint vibration ran through the cavern floor. Leora froze. The dragon twitched, sensing it too. The air shifted, carrying a faint metallic scent that made her stomach tighten. She had barely recovered from the alien predators earlier, but this was different. These were scavengers, the worst kind, those who hunted dying dragons for profit. They moved with precision, leaving no trace except tension and fear. Leora knew they had sensed the dragon's presence, maybe even his psychic energy. They would not stop until they had him. Her mind raced. She had no weapons beyond her tools, no reinforcements. Yet humans survived because they could think faster than threats could act. She scanned the cavern, eyes flicking over the crystals that lined the walls. Light bounced in every direction, creating shadows and illusions if manipulated correctly. The idea struck her like a bolt of lightning. She could trick them by time for the dragon. Leora moved quickly, placing reflective crystals along the cavern walls, angling them with precision. The faint glimmer of water amplified the light, creating multiple images of the dragon in motion. She added small adjustments with the siphon tube, casting shadows that looked like wings flaring and claws striking. When the scavengers entered, their glowing eyes widened. They froze, scanning the cavern, unable to determine which form was real. The dragon's psychic voice touched her mind, weak but approving. "Clever, human." Leora smiled briefly, though her heart pounded like a drum. This wasn't just survival. This was humans asserting themselves against impossible odds. Her courage and intelligence were holding back death itself. A shadow shifted behind her. One of the scavengers had broken from the group, creeping toward the real dragon. Leora's mind reacted instantly. She picked up a shard of crystal and threw it at the far wall. The reflection shifted violently, doubling the number of illusions. The predator hesitated, snarled, and paused. Humans thrived in moments like these, when thought became weapon and courage became action. The rest of the scavengers hesitated at the entrance. Leora kept adjusting crystals and shadows, making it look as if dozens of dragons were defending themselves. The sound of the dragon's weak roars echoed through the cavern, distorted by reflections, magnifying its presence. Slowly the predators retreated, growls echoing down the tunnels. Leora exhaled sharply, though her muscles trembled from fatigue. It was not victory yet. She had only bought time. The dragon shivered. Leora stepped closer, readying the siphon. Its psychic voice was urgent now, fragile like a candle flame in a storm. "Water? Please, human." She pressed her hands to the controls, adjusting the flow carefully. The water began to trickle, then flow steadily. Each drop was a pulse of life for a creature that had survived centuries without. The dragon's chest rose more steadily, scales faintly shining as the liquid revived him. A sudden tremor shook the cavern. The ceiling above the lake rattled, and stones fell into the water with sharp splashes. Leora froze, realizing the scavengers weren't entirely gone. One had doubled back, silent and fast. She could hear the faint scrape of claws on stone. Her mind raced. Humans survived not by strength but by ingenuity. She needed another plan. Using the reflective crystals again, she created a sudden flash of light, bouncing it across the walls. The predator recoiled, blinded for a moment. Leora took the chance to adjust the siphon, increasing flow carefully without spilling. The dragon's psychic presence strengthened, nearly overwhelming her mind with gratitude. "Human, brave, my life, yours." The word struck deep, making her chest ache with emotion. But the predator was relentless. It lunged toward the dragon, claws reaching for the weakened creature. Leora reacted instinctively. She grabbed a long crystal shard and swung, striking the cavern wall. The shard clattered, scattering reflections wildly. The predator froze, confused by the sudden explosion of light and shadow. Humans could improvise, humans could bend the environment to their will. It was never about who was bigger, faster, or stronger, it was about courage and cleverness. The dragon's wings twitched, stronger now from the flowing water. Leora realized something critical. If he could rise even a little, he could defend himself. She concentrated, keeping the siphon steady, ensuring the dragon continued to recover. With every drop of water, the creature regained strength, enough to resist the predator. The scavenger snarled, uncertain. Leora's heart raced. One wrong move could mean death for both her and the dragon. She adjusted the light again, angling the crystals to make it appear as though multiple dragons blocked every possible attack. The predator hesitated, then after a tense heartbeat, backed away, retreating into the shadows. Leora dropped to her knees, gasping but did not relax fully. The dragon's psychic voice filled her mind again, stronger now. "You save me, human, clever, you brave." She could feel his gratitude, the weight of centuries lifted slightly by her courage. Humans had turned impossible odds into survival. Finally, she allowed herself to glance at the lake. The water shimmered, pure and still, promising life and hope. The dragon's chest rose evenly now, wings flexing slightly. The immediate danger was gone, but the journey was far from over. Leora had bought time, saved the dragon from predators, and now faced the next challenge, helping him fully recover and escape the cavern safely. A faint groan echoed from deeper in the tunnels. Leora's pulse quickened. The scavengers were still out there, watching, waiting. But she would not fail. Humans survived because they refused to surrender, because courage was stronger than fear, and because intelligence could bend the universe to their will. She tightened her pack, readjusted the siphon, and took a deep breath. The dragon's eyes, dim at first, now glimmered faintly. Hope had returned. And Leora knew, with every heartbeat, that this was only the beginning of a trial that would test her courage, wit, and humanity to the absolute limit. Leora tightened her grip on the siphon, the weight of the dragon's survival pressing down on her shoulders. Every drop of water she directed into his throat felt like a heartbeat of hope, a chance to undo centuries of suffering. The cavern walls glimmered with reflected light, shadows dancing across jagged stones. The dragon's massive form twitched, wings flexing slightly as life returned. His psychic voice, once weak and desperate, now hummed steadily in her mind, "Human, life, you give me strength." But relief did not last. The ground trembled beneath her feet, and dust rained from the ceiling. From the darkness at the far end of the cavern, a low rumble rose, a sound of alien scavengers returning, more numerous than before. They had regrouped, hunting patiently, aware that the dragon had not yet fully recovered. Leora's pulse quickened. She had survived sandfields, cliffs and predators, but this was the final test. Her courage would need to match the impossible odds of facing dozens of merciless alien hunters while protecting a creature older than the stars. Her mind worked frantically. The dragon was weak, the cavern narrow, and escape routes limited. Humans survived where others failed because they could think faster than threats moved. Leora scanned the cavern, eyes flicking over crystals, walls, and shadows. The reflections she had used earlier could be manipulated again, this time to create a wall of illusions. But she needed more than trickery. She needed action, bold and precise. She tapped the siphon carefully, increasing the water flow. The dragon groaned as life returned to his chest and wings. His massive head lifted slightly, eyes glowing faintly with renewed energy. Leora felt a spark of connection. He trusted her. He was relying on her. She would not fail. The scavengers advanced, their glowing eyes cutting through the dim light. They moved silently, but every instinct in Leora screamed that they were calculating, waiting for a single mistake. She could feel the dragon trembling next to her, still fragile, still recovering. A direct confrontation would be suicide for both of them. Humans survived by turning danger into advantage. Leora adjusted the crystals along the cavern walls, angling them to multiply the dragon's image. Now it appeared as though dozens of dragons flexed wings, roared, and shifted positions, surrounding the scavengers at every angle. The predators paused, confused by the illusions. Leora held her breath, knowing any slip could reveal her presence. The dragon stirred, testing his strength. His massive wings flexed and cracked like thunder in the cavern. Dust and small rocks fell from the ceiling, but he did not collapse. Leora's mind raced. This was the moment, they could turn the tide. If he could rise even a little, he could defend himself. Humans thrived at moments like these, combining courage with opportunity. She whispered into the dragon's mind, not words but encouragement, trust, and determination. You can. You will. I am with you. It was risky, psychic communication could draw the scavenger's attention, but she had no other choice. The dragon's eyes glimmered and slowly he pushed himself upright. Massive wings unfolded, casting shadows across the cavern in a flickering storm of scales and light. His chest rose with each breath, stronger and more confident. The scavengers snarled, realizing the threat before them. Leora moved quickly, adjusting the reflections, making it appear as if the dragon multiplied with every flap of his wings. They faltered, hesitation giving humans the edge. Courage was contagious and the dragon now radiated power. With a sudden, explosive roar, the dragon lunged upward, wings cutting the air with a force that shook the cavern. Rocks tumbled, dust swirled, and the scavengers reeled, disoriented by the combination of illusions and the sudden physical presence. Leora jumped aside as a clawed hand swiped the ground where she had stood moments before. Timing, courage, and precision, every human skill she possessed, had merged into this moment. The dragon rose fully now, massive wings beating, carrying the force of centuries behind him. He roared again, psychic waves rolling through Leora's mind like wind through a canyon. The scavengers hesitated, overwhelmed, unsure whether to attack, flee, or surrender. The illusions, reflections, and sheer size of the dragon created chaos. Humans survived by bending the environment to their advantage, and this was the pinnacle of that principle. Leora worked the siphon with trembling hands, keeping the water flowing steadily. The dragon's strength returned rapidly now, scales shining, wings flaring. He flexed and lunged toward the cavern mouth, careful to avoid crushing her. Leora scrambled to keep pace, adjusting crystals and shadows to maintain the illusion barrier. The scavengers stumbled, finally overwhelmed by courage, intelligence, and the overwhelming presence of the dragon. One by one they retreated, disappearing into the tunnels from which they came. The cavern fell silent except for the echo of the dragon's heavy breathing. Leora collapsed to her knees, chest heaving, every muscle trembling with exhaustion. The dragon lowered himself slightly, massive eyes meeting hers. There was gratitude there, respect, and a silent acknowledgement. Humans were small, fragile, and mortal, yet their courage and intelligence could shape the fate of creatures older than worlds. She touched the siphon gently, ensuring the last of the water flowed into him. The dragon's psychic voice came, strong and clear, resonating with power and emotion. You, a human, have given me life, given me centuries more, brave and clever. Leora smiled weakly. Courage, determination, and intelligence had turned impossible odds into survival. Humans had once again proved they were the universe's true champions, not through size or strength, but through spirit and mind. She took a deep breath. The cavern no longer felt threatening. The dragon was alive, thriving, and strong enough to leave. But the adventure was not over. Together they would face the world outside, a desert of red predators and challenges, but for the first time the impossible had been conquered. Leora's heart swelled with pride. She had acted where others would have fled, thought where others would have panicked, and now the dragon's life was proof that humans could defy even cosmic odds. A rumble echoed from deep within the tunnels, faint but present. Leora's pulse tightened. More scavengers might still be lurking. But she was ready. Humans survived not by retreating, but by facing the impossible with courage, cleverness, and unyielding determination. The dragon's wings flared again, lifting him higher, and Leora knew the final step would soon come. Their flight out of danger, and her place in history as the human who defied death itself. The wind of Corintha's surface was harsher than Leora remembered. Red sand whipped around her, stinging her arms and face, but she didn't care. She stood at the canyon edge, looking up at the dragon, massive wings stretched wide, eyes gleaming with life restored. It had been hours, maybe longer, and yet for the first time the dragon seemed whole, vital, alive. Leora's chest ached from exhaustion, but there was pride there too. Humans survived when courage, intelligence, and determination guided them. She had proven it today against odds no one else would dare face. The dragon lowered itself slightly, its immense claws carefully gripping the edge of the canyon, keeping her safe. Its psychic presence filled her mind. Human, my life is yours. You have given me centuries more, strength, hope, trust. Leora swallowed, feeling warmth spread through her chest. This was more than gratitude. The dragon saw her as a partner, a savior, and in that acknowledgement she felt something she had never felt before, the weight of true accomplishment. Humans could stand against the impossible, and sometimes they could even save history itself. But the victory was not without danger. Behind the canyon, dust and sand shifted unnaturally. Leora turned, sensing movement. The scavengers from the tunnels below were not gone entirely. They had retreated before, but they were patient predators. They would return. She clenched her fists. Survival was never guaranteed, but humans thrived because they refused to surrender to fear. The dragon gave a deep rumble, shaking the canyon walls. Its wings flexed, powerful and steady now, and it let out a roar that carried across the desert. The sound was like a declaration, a warning, a promise. The scavengers, if they were watching, would think twice before returning. The dragon's strength was renewed, but the final step depended on both of them. Leora climbed onto his shoulder, heart pounding, her muscles screaming with exhaustion. I'm ready, she sent into his mind. The dragon tilted his massive head, a faint smile in his ancient eyes. Then, with a thrust of powerful wings, he lifted off the canyon floor. Sand and dust whipped around them, but Leora held on, gripping tightly. The sensation of flight was like nothing she had ever imagined. The desert stretched beneath them, endless and harsh, but from this height, it seemed almost beautiful. Humans were small, but their courage made them giants in the universe. As they soared, Leora's thoughts drifted briefly to her colony. She had left behind a people who relied on her scavenging skills, who had never seen her tested like this. But she knew she had not only saved a dragon, she had reshaped what was possible. Word would travel. Humans had revived an ancient dragon, bending centuries of suffering to life. Her courage, her intelligence, and her determination had changed history. Hours passed as they flew, the dragon gaining altitude, leaving the canyon far below. The wind sang past Leora's ears and she felt something profound, hope. Humans could survive deserts, predators, scarcity, and even the weight of millennia. They could confront creatures older than the stars and emerge victorious, not because of sheer power but because of mind, spirit, and will. She had proven it. Finally, the dragon landed near a hidden oasis, a rare paradise in the desert world. Water shimmered under alien sunlight, and the air smelled fresh. Leora climbed down, knees weak, hands shaking, but her eyes bright with triumph. The dragon lowered his head, nudging her gently, a silent thank you. You, human, have given me life, given me centuries more. She knelt beside him, brushing dust from his scales. The connection was quiet now, deep and mutual. She had faced impossible odds and in the process had proven that humans could rise where others would fall. Courage was not just bravery in the moment, it was persistence, cleverness, and heart all at once. Leora had all of it and the dragon had survived because of it. But survival was not enough. Humans built meaning from what they overcame. Leora looked up at the dragon's massive form, wings casting shadows over the oasis. We'll need to find a safe place for you, she thought. A place where no one can harm you again. The dragon's psychic reply was strong, full of trust and agreement. Together, always. The journey back to the colony would be dangerous. Sandstorms could return, predators could follow, and the desert would not forgive mistakes. But Leora felt ready. Humans thrived in the impossible and she had lived through it. She had faced monsters, navigated deadly terrain, and saved a being that had endured centuries. Her courage had rewritten history. By nightfall, the stars of Corinth shone pale and distant. Leora and the dragon rested at the edge of the oasis, the water shimmering under alien moons. She closed her eyes briefly, exhaustion weighing on her. But even in rest, she felt the thrill of accomplishment. She had acted where others would have fled, thought where others would have panicked, and had survived where most would have perished. Humans were fragile, yet unstoppable when determination and intelligence guided them. In the distance, the colony's faint lights glimmered like pinpricks of hope. Leora smiled, thinking of the stories they would tell, of the girl who faced centuries of suffering, of the dragon who had survived impossible odds, and of the humans who proved that courage and cleverness could shape fate itself. History had changed today. Humans had triumphed. As she looked at the dragon, she felt a deep understanding settle over her. Humans could rise above their limits, achieve what seemed impossible, and inspire even the oldest beings in the universe. She had learned something vital: humanity was more than survival. It was courage, morality, intelligence, and determination rolled into a force that could move worlds. The dragon lifted his head, wings unfurling once more. With a powerful beat, he rose into the night sky, carrying Leora above the desert. Below them, the red sand stretched endlessly, but she knew something that no desert, predator, or storm could ever take away: humans could face the impossible and win. And in that moment she felt the weight of centuries lift, both for the dragon and for herself. Together they soared into the night, an unbreakable bond between human and ancient dragon, a testament to courage, intelligence, and determination. The impossible had been conquered. And the universe for once took notice.